right, shalom, shalom, family. We're coming in November 24th on a Tuesday night. We're about to get into the scripture reading. This is we'll start the book of Exodus. Got the brothers and sisters with me. Hey, Isaac, you gonna be my second reader today,
Dang, Aki.
Hallelujah, hallelujah.
I'm gonna have my son read it, if y'all don't mind as well.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Shoot, we're gonna be reading any translation you got. That's fine. I'm gonna be coming out of the Good News. It's just an easy read translation. Whatever translation you got, please, family, have it out. Follow along with us. Before I start reading the book of Exodus, I'm gonna just give an introduction on it. And as we already know, this is open discussion. We give feedback to each other. It's no stupid or dumb question. Please, feel free to put in your input. All right. Introduction to the book of Exodus. The name Exodus means departure and refers to the most important event in Israel's history, which is described in this book. The departure of the people of Israel from Egypt, where they had been slaves. The book has four main parts. First, the freeing of the Hebrews from slavery. Second, their journey to Mount Sinai. Third, Yah's covenant with his people at Sinai, which gave them moral, civil, and religious, as the world says, or their belief laws to live by. And four, the building and furnishing of the place of worship for Israel, and laws regarding the priests and the worship of Yah. Above all, this book describes what Yah did as he liberated his enslaved people and formed them into a nation with hope for the future. The central human figure in this book is Moses, the man of Yah, chose to lead his people from Egypt. The most widely known part of this book is the list of the Ten Commandments in Exodus chapter 20. Wow, that really gave us a good breakdown of what we're about to read. So, you know, let's go ahead and get into this. I'm gonna read it at chapter 1. Hey, Isaac, what we'll do is this, I'll read one chapter, then, you guys pick up the next chapter after that, and we'll just keep going back and forth like that.
That'll work, Aki.
Hallelujah. Chapter 1. The Israelites are treated cruelly in Egypt. The sons of Jacob who went into Egypt with him, each with his family, were Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. The total number of these people directly descended from Jacob was 70. His son Joseph, was already in Egypt. In the course of time, Joseph, his brothers, and all the rest of the generation died, but their descendants, the Israelites, had many children and became so numerous and strong that Egypt was filled with them. So they was definitely having babies. Then a new king, or Pharaoh, who knew nothing about Joseph, came to power in Egypt. He said to his people, "These Israelites are so numerous and strong that they are a threat to us. In case of war, they might join on to our enemies in order to fight against us and might escape from the country. We must find some way. We must find some way to keep them from becoming even more numerous." So the Egyptians put slave drivers over them to crush their spirits with hard labor. So you know how it is, family. Try to keep you working and focused, and you know, keep everything and all the situations hard where you may not. You know how it is now today. Some people don't even want to have kids because you know they don't want to have to provide for them. You know, or they don't know how they would provide for them. Verse 11. So the Egyptians put slave drivers over them to crush their spirits with hard labor. The Israelites built the cities of Pithom, Ramses to serve as supply centers for the king. But the more the Egyptians oppressed the Israelites, the more they increased in number, and the farther they spread through the land. The Egyptians came to fear the Israelites and made their lives miserable by forcing them into cruel slavery. They made them work on their building projects and in their fields, and they had no pity on them. Then the king of Egypt spoke to Shiphrah the Puah, the two midwives who helped the Hebrew women. When you help the Hebrew women give birth, he said to them, kill the baby if it is a boy, but if it is a girl, let it live. But the midwives were Yah-fearing, and so they did not obey the king. Instead, they let the boys live. So the king of the Pharaoh sent for the midwives and asked them, why are you doing this? Why are you letting the boys live? They answered, the Hebrew women are not like Egyptian women. They give birth easily, and their babies are born before either of us gets there. Because the midwives were Yah-fearing, Yah was good to them and gave their families their own. And the Israelites continued to increase and become strong. Finally, the king issued a command to all his people. Take every newborn Hebrew boy and throw him into the Nile, but let all the girls live. And that is the end of chapter 1. You know, one thing I want to speak on, and I know in the good news in verse 10, it said, in case of war, they might join on to our enemies in order to fight against us and might escape from the country. But in the good news, it has a little quotation mark by that. It means escape from the country or take control of the country. So they were afraid of a coup or a takeover by the Israelites in Egypt. And also, I mean, that's very powerful to think like the women, These are the top results. Oh, my phone turning on by itself. But it was crazy because just to think that though the Hebrew women gave birth easy, and the fact that after they had their babies, they was still up and moving. They was ready to change diapers and everything like that. But any questions, comments, or concerns, brothers and sisters, after reading chapter 1? If not, Isaac, you could just pick up at chapter 2.
Kanaki. I'm gonna be coming out of the KJV. Exodus chapter 2, verse 1. And there went a man of the house of Levi, and took a wife, a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw him, that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. And when she could no longer hide him, she took him. She took him an ark of bulrushes, and daubed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein. And she laid it in the flags by the river bank. Verse 4. And his sister stood afar off, to wit what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maids walked along by the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him, and said, this is one of the Hebrews' children. Verse 7. Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call to thee a nurse of a Hebrew woman, that she may nurse the child for thee? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it. Verse 10. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses. And she said, because I drew him out of the water. Verse 11. And it came to pass in those days, when Moses grew, that he went out unto his brethren, and looked on their burdens. And he spied an Egyptian smiting a Hebrew, one of his brethren. And he looked this way and that way. And when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian, and hid him in the sand. Verse 13. And when he went out to the second day, behold, two men of the Hebrews strove together, and he said to him that did the wrong, wherefore smitest thou thy fellow? And he said, who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Intendest thou to kill me? And thou killest the Egyptian. And Moses feared and said, surely this thing is known. Verse 15. Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses, but Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. Verse 16. Now the priests of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled the throws to the water their father's flock. And the shepherds came and drove them away, but Moses stood up and held them and watered their flock. And when they came to Reuel, their father, he said, how is it that ye are come so soon today? And they said, an Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds, and also drew water enough for us, and watered the flock. And he said unto his daughters, and where is he? Why is it that ye have left the man? Call him, that he may eat bread. Verse 21. And Moses was content to dwell with the man, and he gave Moses Zipporah his daughter. And she bare him a son, and he called his name Gershom. For he said, I have been a stranger in a strange land. And it came to pass in the process of time that the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage. And they cried, and their cry came up unto Yah by reason of the bondage. And Yah heard their groaning, and Yah remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. And Yah looked upon the children of Israel, and Yah had respect unto them.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Now, I want to actually touch on that. I mean, Isaac, is there anything you want to touch on chapter 2? Bonnie Chan?
Go ahead, Aki.
Hey, that was a heavy chapter. Especially, I know you know what happens in the book of Jasher, how more detailed that is, how more detailed that account is. Especially like when Moses was a baby, at that time, like I guess the Egyptian guards or the people would actually like listen. If they heard a baby crying, they would actually go into like wherever that Hebrew's place of dwelling was, and they would check the sex of the baby to see if it was a male or a female. Now, Moses' mother was hiding Moses for so long, and it was found out because Moses was crying that she had a child. So when they found out that she had a child, I guess they didn't know what sex it was yet, but she knew like it was known that she had a child. So if they found out that it was a baby boy, they was going to throw him in the Nile. So her first thing that she did was, at that time she didn't know what to do. She was a grieving mother. She didn't want to see her child murdered in front of her. At the same time, she thought in a sense like maybe like if I put him in this basket in the water, maybe he can float to safety somewhere. And also, she couldn't bear to see him killed, so she let him go. But his sister, Mary, was following the basket, and she followed the basket while it was going down the river, following her baby brother, seeing what would happen to him. And then as soon as she saw like it went to Pharaoh's daughter, you notice she said this, when Pharaoh's daughter took acceptance to little Moses, had compassion on him, like she said, I'll go get a woman to nurse the child, and it was Moses' mother. So you see how God works, that was a blessing right there when I saw that, and that was definitely shows how Yah was with his people and is very compassionate. And also in the sense of, think about it, Moses saw somebody oppressing or like striking one of his people, one of his blood. Because Moses, even though he was growing up in Pharaoh's house, knew he was a Hebrew. He knew
Cain,
he was a Hebrew because his mother taught him. He knew his
Cain,
family and everything. Cain, they don't talk about that, but that's in the book of Jasher.
Cain, Aki.
Have anyone ever seen the movie The Ten Commandments?
Ten Commandments.
Yes, are you talking about the one with Charles? I think his name is Charles.
Charleston Heston.
Yes. Cain.
Yeah. Yeah. I have it. I have it on DVD.
Miss Evans, you tell me about.
The original one, when it first came out, my grandmother told me that it was really long, so it told the whole story. She told me that when she went in to see it, it was during the daytime, and when she came out, it was nighttime.
Oh wow.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So they cut the movie that you see on TV, even though it's long on TV too, but they don't show you the whole version of it.
Wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know it was longer than what we actually been seeing.
Yeah.
I wonder if they still have that copy. That long.
I had the copy.
Oh, okay.
When I come over this weekend, I bring it.
Hallelujah. You know, even in the sense of this though, like when you speak on like what happened with Moses when those two Hebrews were fighting, the first thing they said to him, he was trying to squash the beef that those Hebrews was having, because they was going to blows. And they said, "Who are you to try to say something to us?" Not realizing, like, Moses is not only going to be like their leader in the future, but at the same time, he was a leader in Egypt. You get what I'm saying? He was one of the royal house, So
Cain.
it's like, come on, what are you doing? Like, and then he said, "I'm going to kill. Are you going to kill us as you killed the Egyptians?" So look, somebody snitched on Moses, and Moses knew he had to skedaddle. He had to get out of there.
Hey.
And it's
That was the Most High's doing.
okay.
He knew that he was gonna have Moses deliver his people out of bondage, and so he had to leave Egypt, and
Okay.
that's what he did.
And look, he went out, found himself a wife, and people don't know Moses was pretty old at this time. He was like very old at this time. He was
Cain,
he was like in what was it, Isaac? I think he was like in his 80s.
Cain, Aki, he
Yeah,
was.
he was old. He was old. But let's go ahead and get into chapter 3. Anything else anyone wants to add to what we just read in chapter 2? If not, we keep moving. All right.
I wanna add one thing before we move on, Aki. I just want everybody to take note at the last two scriptures where it said that the children of Israel started groaning and moaning because of the captivity that they were in, and that it reached up to heaven. Anytime where the children of Israel start to groan and moan and complain and ask for some type of relief, and it reaches up to the Most High and He hears it, He normally acts upon that. And you could also, let's take for instance, you having a child and you hear your child crying, and you go in there and you see what's going on with your child, and you make sure your child is okay. Well, that's the same way the Most High deals with His children. Anytime we start, crying and moaning or groaning or upset about any captivity that we've been in, he then acts. And so, the people that have the children of Israel in captivity at the time, um, they end up destroyed when that happens. And so that's what happens with the Egyptians. The Most High moved and they was destroyed.
Okay. And what's crazy about that, he gave the Egyptians so many chances. He gave him so many
He did.
chances to repent. He's like, listen, y'all will know who I am if, like, you ever had like a child test you, and you like, you really tested me? You gonna know who I am when this belt come across your backside. You know what I'm saying? Like, but Cain,
And he's so merciful. The Most High is so merciful. Even with the Egyptians, he was merciful and giving them several chances to repent and stop what they was doing. But we all know what happens. Then after
that Pharaoh was hard headed. He was very hard headed.
Cain.
But Cain, let's go into chapter 3. Let's go into chapter 3. And this is when Yah calls to Moses. One day while Moses was taking care of his sheep and goats of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian, he led the flock across the desert and came to Sinai, the set-apart mountain. There the angel of Yah appeared to him as a flame of fire coming from the middle of a bush. Moses saw the bush was on fire, but that it was not burning up. This is strange, he thought. Why isn't the bush burning up? I will go closer and see. Don't that sound like a Gentile in a horror movie? Let's go check that out. But, let's keep going on. Verse 3. This is strange, he thought. Why isn't the bush burning up? I will go closer and see. Verse 4. When Yah saw that Moses was coming closer, he called to him from the middle of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. He answered, Yes, here I am. The Almighty said, Do not come any closer. Take off your sandals because you are standing on set apart ground. And to compare this is like back in that time when you were going to somebody's house, it'd be appropriate to, wash your feet, take your shoes off the same way. But some people even have shoes. So they'll say, take your shoes off, wash your feet, stuff like that. Don't come in my house at all, with them dirty feet on. You know what I'm saying? So that's, that was the practice, and it's still like the same to this day. When Yah saw that Moses was coming closer, he called to him from the middle of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. He answered, Yes, here I am. The Almighty said, Do not come any closer. Take off your sandals because you are now standing on set apart ground. I'm the power of your ancestors, the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So Moses covered his face because he was afraid to look at Yah, or the Almighty. Then Yah said, I have seen how cruelly my people are being treated in Egypt. I have heard them cry out to be rescued from their slave drivers and from their oppressors. I know all about their sufferings, and so I have come down to rescue them from the Egyptians and to bring them out of Egypt to a spacious land, one which is rich and fertile, and in which the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, and the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites now live. I have indeed heard the cry of my people, and I see how the Egyptians are oppressing them. Now I am sending you to the king of Egypt, or the Pharaoh, so that you can lead my people out of his country. But Moses said to Yah, or to the Almighty, I am nobody. How can I go to the Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? The Almighty answered, I will be with you. And when you bring the people out of Egypt, you will worship me on this mountain. That will be the proof that I have sent you. But Moses replied, When I go to the Israelites and say to them, the God or the mighty one of your ancestors sent me to you, they will ask me, What is his name? So what can I tell them? And the Most High said, I am who I am. Now, family, we're going to stop right there. Now, in other translations, does anybody have their scriptures on them? By any chance, does anybody have their scriptures on them? If not, I'll just get mine real quick.
We have Aki.
Hey, if you can read what it says in verse 14 of the scriptures for me.
Okay, let me get it. All right. coming out of the scriptures, chapter 3, and starting at verse 14. And the power said unto Moshe, I am that which I am. And he said, Thus you shall say to the children of Israel, I am has sent me to you.
Cain, it's read the same out of mine. Now, if you see a quotation mark there, it should be a little quotation mark there. It's right in mine as well. At the bottom, it'll say, because as we know, the scriptures has been translated. But sometimes when they're translated, as we know, some words are so very descriptive, it could give you a stronger or a deeper meaning of what is being said in that certain verse. Now, when you go down to the quotation and tell me if it says the same thing in yours, Isaac, mine says also it may be translated as I will be who I will be. Now, that's deep right there. Does it say the same in yours, Isaac?
It says a little bit different. It says the Hebrew text read Ayah, Asher, Ayah, the word Ayah being derived from Hayah, which means to be, to exist. But the Aramaic text here in verse 14 reads Ayah, Asher, Ayah.
Okay. And I know that's taken too. Like that's the whole tetragrammaton and stuff like that. But that's a whole nother discussion. But right there, what Yah is telling Moses, listen, because as we all know, when you go back into history, even to this day, Egypt was known to worship many different kinds of God. They had, I think, over 360 gods of fertility, different gods of different elements, over certain, like, gods who had certain controls of things. They had gods over pretty much everything in nature, fertility, harvest, food gods, eh, animal gods, all that. We know that. Now, like Moses saying, like, what God am I going to tell him? Horus sent me? Am I going to tell him, uh, you know, Sidon or who Zeus sent me? Who sent me? Yah saying, I will be who I will to be. Yah saying, I don't have any limits. That's literally what Yah means, the self-existing one. I will myself into being, and I can be whatever I want to be. I can do whatever I want to do. That's what set Yah apart. He's not like anything else. Anything else that men worship. Because Yah created everything. And we know all that other worship comes from the fallen angels, how they descended down. You read Genesis chapter 6, and they tried to make man worship them and worship the giants and the Nephilim and the demons and stuff like that. So this is one thing I want to break down to everybody. Yah said, I will be who I will to be, or the self-existing one, the one who willed himself into being. None of us can understand that, and it can't be understood by something that has been created. So, let's go to verse 15. Tell the Israelites that I, Yah, the Most High, the power of your ancestors, the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, have sent you to them. This is why my name forever. This is my name forever. This is where all the future generations are to call me. Go and gather the leaders of Israel together and tell them that I, Yah, the Most High, the power of your ancestors, the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, appeared to you. Tell them that I have come to them and I have seen what the Egyptians are doing to them. And I have decided that I will bring them out of Egypt, where they are being treated cruelly, and will take them to a rich and fertile land, the land of the Canaanites, Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites. my people will listen to what you say to them. Then you must go to the leaders of Israel, to the king of Egypt, and say to them, Yah, the power of the Hebrews, has revealed himself to us. Now allow us to travel 3 days into the desert to offer sacrifices to Yah, our power. And I know that the king or the Pharaoh of Egypt will not let you go unless he is forced to do so. But I will use my power and punish Egypt by doing terrifying things to them there. After that, he will let you go. I will make the Egyptians respect you so much when my people leave, they will not go empty handed. Every Israelite woman will go to her Egyptian neighbor and to any Egyptian woman living in her house and will ask for clothing, for gold, silver, jewelry, resources. The Israelites will put these things on their sons and daughters and carry away the wealth of the Egyptians. And that is Exodus chapter 3. Man, family, that whole scripture is deep right there. That whole chapter. Anything else you guys want to add? Hey, Isaac, are you trying to say something right now?
No, Aki.
Oh, okay. Well, you got it. You go ahead and pick up at chapter 4.
Hallelujah.
Then Moses said to Yah, but the Israelites will not believe me when I tell them that you sent me. They will say the Most High did not appear to you. But the Most High said to Moses, what is that you have in your hand? Moses answered, it is my walking stick. Then Yah said, throw your walking stick on the ground. So Moses threw his walking stick on the ground, and it became a snake. Moses ran from it. But the Most High said to him, reach out and grab the snake by its tail. When Moses reached out and caught the snake's tail, the snake became a walking stick again. Then Yah said, use your stick in this way, and the people will believe that you saw the Most High, the power of your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Then the Most High said to Moses, I will give you another proof. Put your hand under your robe. Moses opened his robe and put his hand inside. Then he brought his hand out of the robe, and it was changed. His hand was covered with spots that were white like snow. Then Yah said, now put your hands into your robe again. So Moses put his hand into his robe again. Then he brought his hand out, and his hand was changed. Now his hand was good again, as it was before. Then Yah said, if the people don't believe you when you use your walking stick, then they will believe you when you show them this sign. If they refuse to believe you after you show them both of these signs, then pour some water from the Nile River, take some water from the Nile River, pour the water on the ground, and as soon as it touches the ground, it will become blood. Then Moses said unto Yah, but Yah, I am telling you, I am not a good speaker. I have never been able to speak well. That hasn't changed since you started talking to me. I am still not a good speaker. You know that I speak slowly and don't use the best words. Then Yah said to him, who made a person's mouth, and who can make someone deaf or not able to speak? Who can make a person blind? Who can make a person be able to see? I am the one. I am the Most High. So go. I will be with you when you speak. I will give you the words to say. But Moses said, Almighty Yah, I beg you to send someone else, not me. Then the Most High became angry with Moses and said, all right, I'll give you someone to help you. Aaron is a Levite. Aaron the Levite is your brother, isn't he? He is a good speaker. In fact, Aaron is already coming up to meet you, and he will be happy to see you. I will tell you what to say. Then you will tell Aaron, and I will help him say it well. I will tell both of you what to do. So Aaron will speak for you, like Yah. You will speak to him, and he will tell the people what you say. So go and carry your walking stick with you. Use it in the other miracles to show the people that I am with you. Verse 18. Then Moses went back to Jethro, his father-in-law. Moses said to him, please let me go back to Egypt. I want to see if my people are still alive. Jethro said to Moses, "Go in peace." Then while Moses was still in Midian, the Most High said to him, "It it is safe for you to go back to Egypt now. The men who wanted to kill you now are dead." So Moses put his wife and children on the donkey and returned to Egypt. He carried his walking stick with him, the walking stick with the power of God. While Moses was traveling back to Egypt, the Most High spoke to him. When you talk to Pharaoh, remember to show him all the miracles that I give you the power to do. But I will cause Pharaoh to be very stubborn. He will not let the people go. Then you should say to Pharaoh, "This is what the Most High says. Israel is my firstborn son, and I am telling you to let my son go and worship me. If you refuse to let Israel go, then I will kill your firstborn son." On the way to Egypt, Moses stopped at the place to spend the night. The Most High met Moses at that place and tried to kill him. Zipporah took a flint knife and circumcised her son. She took the skin and touched his feet. Then she said to Moses, "You are the bridegroom of the blood to me." Zipporah said this because she had to circumcise her son. So Yah let Moses live. The Most High had spoken to Aaron and told him, "Go out into the desert and meet Moses." So Aaron went and met Moses in the mountain of Yah. He saw Moses and kissed him. Moses told Moses told Aaron everything the Most High had commanded him to say, and all the miracles he must do to prove that Yah has sent him. So Moses and Aaron went and gathered together all the elders of the Israelites. Then Aaron spoke to the people and told them everything the Most High had told Moses. Then Moses did the miracles for all the people to see, and they believed what they had heard. Then the Israelites understood that the Most High had seen their troubles and had come to help them. So they bowed down and worshiped the Most High. Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Yo, that chapter's deep right there. I'm gonna be real, man. That chapter has a lot in it, especially when you go to, verse 11. No, I'll say verse 10 through 13. You know, when Moses is saying to Yah, don't send me, please. I'm not a good speaker. I'm not the man for the job. I think you chose wrong. And y'all's saying to him, not a good speaker. What? It's like, ain't I the one who made mouths, who made speech? Man, I even know I made you walk. I made everything. How you gonna question me on if you're the right person? If you're the right person to send in that? You know, it's crazy because even after all that, even after Yah telling them all that, Moses is like, please send somebody else. And that angel, whoever was delivering that message, got angry. You know, so then Yah was merciful though, and he let his brother Aaron come with him and speak for him. And they work together to do this mission that so the Israelites can actually come out of Egypt. And shoot, just thinking about all these miracles now, it lets you know what the Israelites must have been experiencing being in Egypt. Think about it right now to this day. Isaac, if I come to your house and I'm walking with a stick, and then I just put the stick on the ground and it turned to a snake, you gonna think I'm doing witchcraft, right? You gonna be like, yo, I can't trust this brother. You know, you know, I might not even be allowed in the family gatherings or anything anymore. You know, number gonna be blocked and all that. But it just lets you know, like, even though he may show them that, and they still don't believe. So Yah has to give them all these signs. That's why I'd always talk about Israel being hard necked, and we always needed signs and miracles. Because, with some people just seeing that, they'll believe. But with us, no. We were very hard headed. Hey, anything you brothers and sisters want to add to that?
Cain Aki. In in this particular chapter, it was so packed with different jewels here and there. If you notice, this particular chapter spoke a lot about the staff that Moses carried.
Okay.
And if we go and look in Jasher 77 and 43, it talks about where that staff actually came from, or who had this staff first. And according to Jasher 77:43, this staff actually belonged to Adam himself.
Wow.
So Adam passed down this staff from his children, and it got all the way down to Moses. And so, if you want to read a little bit more about that, you can find that in Jasher 77, verse 43. Also, it's spoken about in the cave of treasures. I know you may not be quite familiar with that book, but if you look on page 83 in the cave of treasures, it also backs up where the staff came from and how Moses got it.
Okay. You know, man, there's so much information out here. And it's just the fact that, us as Israelites, we're now coming back to the truth, coming back to the word. So we're finding our way. We're finding our way to Yah. And it's a lot of things, as we know, Satan has been allowed to hide certain things from us. And, even Yah willingly has taken stuff from us. You know what I'm saying? Because of our disobedience to him. But now when we coming back in our humbleness, Yah's allowing us to be able to connect all the dots and see the things that, see and read about these things that we haven't read and heard about, in the church or anywhere else, and actually be able to connect to this word, because think about it. How many of us would be like, if Yah sent us on a mission, especially like to go to the king? Imagine, a Malakim or angel came to us and said, hey, I need you to walk to the White House. You're gonna walk. You're gonna walk past You're gonna walk right past through those gates. No one's gonna stop you, and you're go inside that door, and you're gonna tell the president, "Let my people go." Look, you're gonna be like, "Yeah, they're gonna shoot me down." That's that's how fearful we will be. That's what our mindset will be. So it's like, it's the same with Moses. Moses like, man, look, somebody gonna bring up my name. They gonna be like, man, oh, that's the yo who killed the Egyptian back in the day. Moses scared of that, But it lets you know, like with Yah, anything's possible. Anything's possible. And even though we can't see it, we have to trust in Yah because he can see it. And he's the one who made everything. So, also, I want to touch on verse 25 through 26 when, Moses' wife, now it was a custom amongst our people to circumcise, every male child on the 8th day. Now, Moses didn't circumcise his sons. So that's a sin, because circumcision is a sign of the covenant, especially like, you're Moses, so you're held to a higher standard than any other brother and sister. So, that angel was literally about to come and kill Moses. So I don't know how, but his wife, knowing that this was about to happen to him, hurried up and circumcised the children, making sure that the law is kept and that Moses doesn't get, his head cut off, So, hallelujah for her having that spiritual insight. And, riding and protecting her husband. We've seen many cases like that, like with the sister Abigail, that one of David's wives before he married her. Many sisters. All right. Hey, shalom, Aki Yosef. Right now we're recording. We're recording the room right now. video recording. There's going to be a video and audio. So I just wanted to let you know before we get started. Also, if you want me to edit you out the video, your name or your picture, just let me know. All right.
It's all good. It's all good. Hallelujah.
Okay. And again, everybody, this is open discussion, open talk. Please give your question, comments, or concerns. All right, we're going to hit chapter 5, Exodus chapter 5. Moses and Aaron stand before the king of Egypt or the Pharaoh. Chapter 5, verse 1. Then Moses and Aaron went to the king of Egypt and said, Yah, or the Most High, the power of Israel, says, let my people go, so that they can hold a festival or a feast in the desert to honor me. Or if in other translations it says, just go out in the desert and worship me. And then look, this is interesting in verse 2. Who is Yah? The king demanded. Why should I listen to him and let Israel go? I do not know this God, and I will not let Israel go. So look, the first thing the Pharaoh asks, they said, what God are you talking about? Is this any of our gods that we know? We don't know who this is. So Moses, let's see what Moses says. Moses and Aaron replied, the power of the Hebrews has revealed himself to us. Allow us to travel 3 days into the desert to offer sacrifices to Yah, our power. If we don't do so, he will kill us with disease or by war. The king said to Moses and Aaron, what do you mean by making the people neglect their work? Get those slaves back to work. You people have become more numerous than the Egyptians, and now you want to stop working? The same day the king commanded the Egyptian slave drivers and the Israelite foremen, stop giving the people straw for making bricks. Make them go and find it for themselves, but still require them to make the same number of bricks as before, not one brick less. They don't have enough work to do, and that is why they keep asking me to let them go and offer sacrifices to their power. Make them work harder and keep them busy so that they won't have time to listen to a pack of lies. So you see, as soon as Moses went and said that to Pharaoh, how did Pharaoh respond? He made his work even harder. Verse 10. The slave drivers and the Israelite foremen went out and said to the Israelites, the king has said, or the Pharaoh has said, that he will not supply you with any more straw. He says that you must go and get it for yourselves wherever you can find it, but you must still make the same number of bricks. So the people went all over Egypt looking for straw. The slave drivers kept trying to force them to make the same number of bricks every day as they made when they were given straw. The Egyptian slave drivers beat the Israelite foremen, whom they had put in charge of the work. They demanded, why aren't your people making the same number of bricks that you made before? Then the foreman went to the king and complained, why do you do this to us, your majesty? We are given no straw, but we are still ordered to make bricks. And now we are being beaten. It is your people that are at fault. The king answered, you are lazy and don't want to work. That is why you asked me to let you go and offer sacrifices to your power. Now, get back to work. You will not be given any straw, but you must still make the same number of bricks. The foreman realized that they were in trouble when they were told that they had to make the same number of bricks every day as they had made before. As they were leaving, they were met by Moses and Aaron, who were waiting for them. They said to Moses and Aaron, Yah has seen what you have done and will punish you for making the king and his officers haters. You have given them an excuse to kill us. Don't that sound like brothers and sisters? Especially when you think back in slavery times and in the early times of the United States. Man, slaves are so scared of master, and especially of just the Gentiles and the Europeans at that time, that whatever master wanted us to do, we would do. And if somebody was speaking against it, uh, talking about standing up or anything like that, hey, you know, we were saying, hey, we got something nice here. Don't try to ruin it. You're causing problems. That's how we were, even at that time. So let's keep going. Verse 22. Then Moses turned to Yah again and said, Yah, why do you mistreat your people? Why did you send me here? Ever since I went to the king to speak for you, he has treated them cruelly, and you have done nothing to help them. You go ahead out, pick up at chapter 6. Hey,
Exodus 6, coming out of KJV, verse 1. Then the Almighty said unto Moses, Now shalt thou see what I will do to Pharaoh. For with a strong hand shall I let them go, and with a strong hand shall he drive them out of his land. And Yah spake unto Moses, and said unto him, I am Yah, and I appeared unto Abraham, and unto Isaac, and unto Jacob, by the name of power almighty. But by my name Yah was I not known to them. Verse 4. I have also established my covenant with them, to give them the land of Canaan, the land of their pilgrimage, wherein they were strangers. Verse 5. And I have also heard the groaning of the children of Israel, whom the Egyptians keep in bondage, and I have remembered my covenant. Wherefore say unto the children of Israel, I am Yah, and I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians, and I will rid you out of their bondage, and I will redeem you with a stretched out arm, and with great judgments. And I will take you to me for a people, and I will be to you a power, and ye shall know that I am the Almighty your power, which bringeth you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. And I will bring you into the land concerning which I did swear to give it to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, and I will give it to you for an inheritance. I am Yah. Verse 9. And Moses spake unto the children of Israel, but they hearkened unto Moses for anguish of spirit, and for cruel bondage. And the Almighty spake unto Moses, saying, Go in, speak unto Pharaoh the king of Egypt, that he let the children of Israel go out of his land. And Moses spake before the Almighty, saying, Behold, the children of Israel have not hearkened unto me. How then shall Pharaoh hear me, who am of uncircumcised lips? And Yah spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, and gave them a charge unto the children of Israel, and unto Pharaoh king of Egypt, to bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. Verse 14. These be the heads of their fathers' houses, the sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, Hanak, and Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. These be the families of Reuben. And the sons of Simeon, Jemuel, and Jamin, and Ohad, and Jashan, and Zohar, and Shaul, the son of the Canaanitish woman. These are the families of Simeon. Verse 16. And these are the names of the sons of Levi according to their generations: Gershon, and Kohath, and Merari. And the years of the life of Levi were 137 years old. The sons of Gershon, Libni, and Shimei, according to their families. And the sons of Kohath, Amram, and Izhar, and Hebron, and Uzziel. And the years of the life of Kohath were 133 years. Verse 19. And the sons of Merari, Mahali, and Mushah. These are the families of Levi according to their generations. And Amram took him Jochebed, his father's sister, to wife, and she bare him Aaron and Moses. And the years of the life of Amram were 137 years. And the sons of Izhar, Korah, and Nepheg, and Zithrai, and the sons of Uzziel, and Mishael, and Elzaphan, and Zithri. And Aaron took him Elisheba, daughter of Amminadab, sister of Nahshon, to wife, and she bare him Nadab, and Abihu, and Eleazar, and Ithamar. Verse 24. And the sons of Korah, Asir, and Elkanah, and Abisaph. These are the families of Korites. And Eleazar, Aaron's son, took him one of the daughters of Puthiel to wife, and she bare him Phinehas. These are the heads of the fathers of the Levites according to their families. These are that Aaron and Moses, to whom the Almighty said, Bring out of the children of Israel from the land of Egypt according to their armies. These are they which spake to Pharaoh king of Egypt, to bring out the children of Israel from Egypt. These are that Moses and Aaron. And it came to pass on that day when Yah spake to Moses in the land of Egypt, that the Most High spake unto Moses, saying, I am Yah. Speak thou unto Pharaoh king of Egypt all that I say unto thee. And Moses said before the Most High, Behold, I am of uncircumcised lips, and how shall Pharaoh hearken unto me?
Okay. And that's chapter 6, family. That's chapter 6. Very good read. All right? Very good read. You know what's funny? I just like to speak on in verse 10. No, I'm sorry. Verse 12. When Moses replied, Even the Israelites will not listen to me, so why should the king? I am such a poor speaker. So look, Moses is still harkening on the fact in chapter 6, like, hey, as soon as I spoke to Pharaoh, what happened? Man, he just put harder labor on him. Like, and it really broke the spirit of my people. Now they have to go search for like the work equipment to get the work done, and they still have to provide and do their service at that same standard. It's like, I'm like, look how much harder I made their life trying to speak and trying to, do as you said, yeah. Like, how am I helping? But God telling them, hey, you say and do what I tell you to do. Everything else will come. That's my job. I just need you to do what I tell you to do. And Moses like, yeah, I'll do what you tell me to do. But look, let's read in chapter 7, what continues to go on. Verse 1. Yah said, I'm going to make you like a god, or like a mighty one, to the king, or to the Pharaoh. And your brother Aaron will speak to him as if he were your prophet. Tell Aaron everything I command you, and he will tell the king or the Pharaoh to let the Israelites leave his country. But I will make the king stubborn, and he will not listen to you, no matter how many terrifying things I do in Egypt. Then I will only bring severe punishment on Egypt and lead the tribes of my people out of the land. The Egyptians will then know that I am Yah, when I raise my hand against them and bring the Israelites out of their country. Moses and Aaron did what Yah commanded. At that time, when they spoke to the king, Moses was 80 years old and Aaron was 83. Aaron's walking stick, or staff. Yah said to Moses and Aaron, if the king demands that you prove yourself by performing a miracle, tell Aaron to take his walking staff and throw it down in front of the king, and it will turn into a snake. So Moses and Aaron went to the king and did as Yah had commanded. Aaron threw his walking stick down in front of the king in his office, and and it turned into a snake. Then the king called his wise men and magicians, and by their magic they did the same thing. Now let's stop right there, family. And I'd like to hear anybody's thoughts on this. Think about that. That lets you know what the Israelites were already experiencing and seeing in Egypt. So look, as soon as Pharaoh saw that, he was like, "Oh, huh, man, why magicians go in there?" You know, and the magicians threw something staff down or whatever, and they did the same thing. They made snakes appear. So that's letting you know, look, they're dealing with some type of power themselves. And we all know, like most of the fallen gods, or the fallen angels, are referred to as gods, and even demons, the sons of the fallen angels, or the children of the fallen angels, are also worshipped as gods. So look, these other spiritual beings have power as well. They're not as powerful and as strong as Yah, but they have power as well, and that's what these people have turned to. Let's continue on. Verse 12. When they threw down their walking staffs, and the staffs turned into snakes, but Aaron's staff swallowed theirs. The king, however, remained stubborn and just as Yah had said, and the king would not listen to Moses and Aaron. So just as Yah said, he's going to make sure that the king of the Pharaoh will be hard necked and just be like adamant of not listening. Verse 14. Then God said to Moses, "The Pharaoh is very stubborn and refuses to let the people go. So go meet him in the morning, and when he goes down to the Nile, take with you your walking staff that was turned into a snake, and wait for him to go onto the riverbank. Then say to the king, Yah, the power of the Hebrews sent me to tell you to let his people go, so that they can worship him in the desert. But until now, you have rejected him and not listened. Now, your majesty, Yah says that you will find out who he is by what he is going to do." So Yah's letting you know, just as a parent does to his child to discipline him. Hey, you want to be disobedient? You want to not listen? Even Birdman said, "Put respect on my name." You know what I'm saying? So that's what Yah's saying. Yah's like, hey, you go respect me, and you go know who I am. Verse 17. Now, your majesty, Yah says that you will find out who he is by what he is going to do. Look, I'm going to strike the surface of the river with my staff, and the water will be turned into blood. The fish will die, the river will stink so much that the Egyptians will not be able to drink from it. Yah said to Moses, "Tell Aaron to take his staff and hold it out over all the rivers, canals, and pools in Egypt. The water will become blood, and all over the land there will be blood, even in the wooden tubes and the stone jars." Now I want everybody to picture and think about that. Imagine if that were to happen in today's sense. That means even the water bottles that you may have in your house, you know what I mean? The drinks that you have in the fridge and everything that's not even connected to any type of source of water will turn into blood. That's how you know it's something spiritual happening now. It's a divine power that's happening right now. Verse 20. Then Moses and Aaron did as Yah commanded in the presence of the king and his officers. Aaron raised his staff and struck the surface of the river, and all the water in it was turned into blood. The fish in the river died, and it smelled so bad that the Egyptians could not drink from it. There was blood everywhere in Egypt. Then the king's magicians did the same thing by the means of their magic, and the king was stubborn as ever, just as Yah had said. The king refused to listen to Moses and Aaron. Instead, he turned and went back to the palace without paying any attention even to this. All the Egyptians dug along the bank of the river for drinking water, because they were not able to drink from the river. Seven days passed after the Yah struck the river. So think about that. He just affected their source of water. So now what's going to happen? You know, look, what we're going to realize, Yah is actually breaking the nation of Egypt down. Everyone knows that, like, even if you could go to, like, now at this time, everyone knows that the Nile River is like the lifeline of Egypt, of that whole country, because that river runs throughout that whole country, and it gives water to all the vegetation, to the animals. And they have, even, I probably wouldn't even be surprised if they have rivers that they've, or canals that they made, that branch off from the Nile River, that go into the city. But go ahead, Isaac. It sounded like you wanted to say something about
Nah, actually, I was just agreeing with what you were saying.
it. Okay. And it's just, hey, you know, what we're going to see is y'all break that nation down one step at a time, just to because at this time Egypt is pretty much like the United States. It's the most powerful. It's the most powerful military, uh, financially. Think about it. The Israelites came to Egypt to get food, seek food and refuge. You know, so think about that. It's pretty much a national powerhouse, a nationwide or continent, worldwide powerhouse. So nobody's banging with Egypt right now at this time. You could go ahead.
All right, verse Exodus 8. Should I skip over? Okay.
Then the Most High said unto Moses, Go to Pharaoh and tell him that the Most High says, Let my people go to worship me. If you refuse to let my people go, then I will fill Egypt with frogs. The Nile River will be filled with frogs. They will come from the river and into your houses. They will be in your bedroom. They will be in your bedrooms and in your beds. They will be in the houses of your officials and your ovens and in your jars of water. The frogs will be all over you, your people and your officials. Then the Most High said unto Moses, Tell Aaron to hold a walking stick in his hand over the canals and rivers and lakes. Then the frogs will come out into the land of Egypt. So Aaron raised his hand over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs began coming out of the water and covered the land of Egypt. The magicians used their magic to do the same thing, so even more frogs came out into the land of Egypt. Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron and said, Ask the Most High to remove the frogs from me and my people and from my people. I will let the people go to offer sacrifices to the Most High. Moses said unto Pharaoh, I will pray for you, your people, and for your officials. Then the frogs will leave you in your houses. They will remain only in the river. When do you want the frogs to go away? Pharaoh said, Tomorrow. Moses said, It will happen as you say. In this way, you know there is no Yah. There is no
Power.
like the Most High. The frogs will leave you, your houses, your officials, and your people. They will remain only in the river. Moses and Aaron left Pharaoh. Moses prayed to the Most High about the frogs he had sent against Pharaoh. And the Most High did what Moses asked. The frogs died in the houses and in the yards and in the fields. They began to rot, and the whole country began to stink. But when Pharaoh saw that they were free of the frogs, he again became stubborn. Pharaoh did not do what Moses and Aaron had asked him to do. This happened just as the Most High said. The lice. Verse 16. Then the Most High said unto Moses, Tell Aaron to raise a stick and hit the dust on the ground, and everywhere in Egypt dust will become lice. Then they did this. Aaron raised the stick in his hand and hit the dust on the ground, and everywhere in Egypt the dust became lice. The lice got on the animals and on the people. The magicians used their magic and tried to do the same thing, but the magicians could not make the lice come from the dust. The lice remained on the animals and the people. So the magicians told Pharaoh that the power of Yah did this.
Hey, Isaac,
Yeah.
stop right there, cause we gotta talk about that. We gotta talk about
Okay.
that. Like, think about how powerful that is. Now, in yours it says lice, in mine it says gnats. You know what I'm saying? I mean, lice are much worse than gnats. I'm gonna be honest with you. Lice is
Mm-hmm.
much worse than gnats. But
Dang.
anyone like you ever been suffocated by gnats so much that you like, oh my goodness, these gnats is really making my day horrible. But like even with lice, man, I've never experienced lice, but like man, they're just I've heard, especially with Gentiles, it's like a bothersome. So
Dang.
I would say this, like, hey, we definitely gotta make sure. Give me one moment, fam. Give me one moment, fam. But you could continue going. We're going to talk about this afterwards. We're going to definitely talk about this afterwards.
Verse 20. The Most High said to Moses, "Get up in the morning and go to Pharaoh. He will go out to the river. Tell him that the Most High says, 'Let my people go and worship me.' If you don't let my people go, then flies will come into your houses. The flies will be on you and your officials. The houses of Egypt will be full of flies. They will be all over the ground too. But I will not treat the Israelites the same as the Egyptians. There will not be any flies in the Goshen, where my people live. In this way you will know that I, the Most High, am in this land. So tomorrow I will treat my people differently from your people. This will be my proof." So the Most High did just what he said. Millions of flies came into Egypt. The flies were in Pharaoh's house, and they were in all his officials' houses. They were so all over Egypt, the flies were ruining the country. So Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron and told them, "Offer sacrifices to the Most High here in this country." But Moses said it would not be right to do that. The Egyptians think it's terrible to kill animals and sacrifices. For the power, for the power of our
Speak on, son.
for the power of our Most High. If we do this here, the Egyptians will see us and throw stones at us and kill us. Let us go 3 days into the desert and offer sacrifices to the power, our Most High. This is what he told us to do. So Pharaoh said, "I will let you go and offer sacrifices to the Most High in the desert, but you must not go very far. Now go and pray for me." Moses said, "Look, I will leave and ask the Most High to remove the flies from you, your people, and your officials tomorrow. But you must not stop the people from offering sacrifices to the Most High." So Moses left Pharaoh and prayed to the Most High. And the Most High did what Moses asked. He removed the flies from Pharaoh, his officials, and his people. None of the flies remained. But Pharaoh again became stubborn and did not let the people go.
Kane, that was a very good read. That was a very good read. All right, we see what's happening. First, what did y'all do? He hit him with blood in the water. Now, what does that do? Blood in the water affects not only people, it affects the vegetation, it affects the animals. Saw how it killed the water, the the animals, well, the fish and everything within the water. You see how that can affect. I mean, come on, dehydration must have been an all-time high. You know, like
Dang.
uh, what else? Then the lice,
Frogs.
the frogs. Now, man, it depends on what kind of frogs these were. You know what I'm saying? We don't know what kind of frogs these were, because we know there are poisonous frogs that
Dang.
if you touch them, you literally can get some type of toxin that enters your body, and you can become paralyzed, you can die, you can become sick. You know what I mean? So it definitely wonders what kind of frog these were. These now we're going into the lice, or I'll say slash gnats, because we don't know. You know, probably the Book of Joshua would probably better speak to. But think about that. You're getting hit with these things one after another, and you're trying to recover from it. It's just like with COVID. Think about how now we're in like the COVID world. Like, you saw how that affected the economy. Some people still haven't recovered from their job loss, or from that financial burden that hit them. Some people literally went broke because of COVID-19. But now imagine if something like that was to happen again, another shutdown and some more restrictions. You know what I mean? That could hurt you even more. So think about it like that with them. Now, let's see what happens after the lice. Flies. Now, we all know, especially in Africa, those are probably like them bot flies. Them flies that bite you, then they leave like they put eggs in you and stuff like that. That
Oh,
crazy stuff. What are those
hey,
called, Isaac? What are those called again?
I'm
I'm
not
not
sure,
sure,
Aki,
Aki,
but,
but
I
I
know
know
exactly
exactly
what
what
you're
you're
talking
talking
about.
about.
I think they're called like bot flies or something like that. Like or
Dang.
but think about it, they were even that or horse flies or like yo, this isn't a good situation. This isn't a good situation. Not for the people, the animals, not for the economy. Because imagine me being a merchant. Yo, I just came back from Egypt. It's flies everywhere. Well, guess I'm not going there today. You know, you know,
Dang.
like hey, that's what it's like. That's what's happening. Y'all's literally breaking them down with things that they experience on the day to day. So look, after all that, what happened? Pharaoh's like, please, okay, enough is enough. Like, please pray to your power. Please pray to Yah and ask him to forgive us. And please, we'll let y'all go. Just don't go too far. Just stay right in the desert where I can see you. Don't go too far, and we'll let you do your thing. But look, Moses warning them, hey, if you keep playing and you keep trying to deceive and play games with Yah, more is gonna happen. So let's see what happens. All right. Hey family, everybody's good. Y'all still ready to keep going? Everybody good, family? Or is everybody asleep? If y'all asleep, I'll end it here.
Oh, we good over here. All right.
Miss Edmonds, Micaiah, Yosef, y'all straight? Well, I know, Yosef and Micaiah, y'all probably at work. But hey, well, how about this? We'll read chapter 9. We'll stop at chapter 9, and then we'll just pick up at chapter 10 next week. All right. Chapter 9, the death of the animals. Yah said to Moses, go to the king or the Pharaoh and tell him that Yah, the power of the Hebrews, says, let my people go so that they may worship me. If you again refuse to let my people go, I will punish you by sending a terrible disease on all your animals, your horses, your donkeys, camels, cattle, sheep, and goats. Now I want everybody to remember at these times, animals are like they're not only are they food, they're shelter. I mean, they're clothing. You can use them as money to bargain. You know what I mean? They provide like certain animals provide you with milk, provide you with clothing. They're an important part. You could use them for labor. So now this is a heavy hit. I will make a distinction between the animals of the Israelites and those of the Egyptians, and no animal that belongs to the Israelites will die. I Yah have set tomorrow as the time when I will do this. The next day Yah did as he said, and all the animals of the Egyptians died, but not one of the animals of the Israelites died. The king asked, what happened? And was told that none of the animals of the Israelites has died, but he was too stubborn and would not let the people go. Think about that. Now, not all of them literally died. In the good news, what I mean, most translations, it obviously is paraphrased. It's just a good amount of the animals of Egypt had died. But let's keep going. Verse 8, boils. Then Yah said to Moses and Aaron, take a few handful of ashes from a furnace. Moses is to throw it into the air in front of the king, and they will spread out like fine dust over all the land of Egypt, and everywhere they will produce boils that will become open sores on the people and animals. Now that's nasty. So they got some ashes and stood before the Pharaoh. Moses threw them into the air, and they produced boils or tumors, and that became open and sores on the people and animals. The magicians were not able to appear before Moses because they were covered with boils like all the other Egyptians. But Yah made the king stubborn, and just as Yah had said, the king would not listen to Moses and Aaron. Verse 13. Hail. Yah then said to Moses, early tomorrow morning, meet with the Pharaoh and tell him that Yah, the power of the Hebrews, says, let my people go, so that they may worship me. This is the time I will punish not only your officials and your people, but I will punish you as well, so that you may know that there is no one like me in all the world. So as I said to you, family, no one knew who Yah was at this time. So the Israelites pretty much lost their way, but Yah's letting them know now. He's letting the whole world know, putting everybody on blast about who he is. If I had raised my hand to strike you and your people with disease, you would have been completely destroyed. But to show you my power, I have let you live so that my fame might spread all over the world. Yet you are still arrogant and refuse to let my people go. This time tomorrow I will cause a heavy hailstorm such as the Egyptians have never known in all its history. Now give the orders for your livestock and everything else you have in the open to be put under a shelter. Hail will fall on the people and the animals left outside unprotected. They will all die. Some of the king's officials were afraid because of what Yah had said, and they brought their slaves and animals indoors for shelter. Others, however, paid no attention. Like they didn't take heed to Yah's word, to Yah's warning, and left their slaves and animals out in the open. Then Yah said to Moses, raise your hand toward the sky, and the hail will fall over all over the whole land of Egypt, on the people, the animals, and all the plants in the fields. So Moses raised his staff toward the sky, and Yah sent thunder and hail, and lightning struck the ground. Yah sent a heavy hailstorm, with lightning flashing back and forth. It was the worst storm that Egypt has ever known in all its history. All over Egypt, hail struck down everything in the open, including all the people and all the animals, and beat down all the plants in the fields and broke all the trees. The region of Goshen where the Israelites lived was the only place where there was no hail. So think about that, family. The Israelites have been chilling this whole time. Because think about it. What sense would it make for Yah to punish the Israelites if he's there to rescue the Israelites? No. Everything that they're talking about, this is happening to Egyptians. The Israelites are not getting harmed. The Israelites are not getting touched. All right, verse 25. All over Egypt, the hail struck down everything in the open, including all the people and all the animals. It beat down all the plants, the fields, and broke all the trees. The region of Goshen, where the Israelites lived, was the only place where there was no hail. The king sent for Moses and Aaron and said, this time I have sinned. Yah is right. My people and I are wrong. Pray to Yah. We have had enough of this thunder and hail. I promise to let you go. You don't have to stay here any longer. So think about it. Yah's crushing their nation. Like, think about this. If this were to happen to any other country, they will probably get invaded like within the next coming months or days. Because it's like with all that happening, their country is in total chaos. They have no means to fight back, no means to protect themselves. So their nation is ripe for the taking. This is what Yah is doing. He's breaking their nation down economically, uh, religiously, financial. Well, yeah, I said economically. He's breaking down the government. He's breaking down like the agricultural system, the food system. He's breaking down everything to show who he is. Verse 29. Moses said to him, as soon as I go out of the city, I will lift up my hands in prayer to Yah. The thunder will stop, and there will be no more hail, so that you may know that the earth belongs to Yah. But I know that you and your officials do not yet fear Yah yet. The flax and the barley were for ruin because barley was ripe and the flax was budding. But none of the wheat was ruined because it ripens later. Moses left the king and went out of the city and lifted up his hands in prayer to Yah. The thunder and the hail and the rain and It all stopped. When the king saw what had happened, he said, "I have sinned again." He and his officials remained He and his officials remained as stubborn as ever, and just as Yah had foretold through Moses, the king would not let the Israelites go. Well, I'm sorry, verse 34 it said, when the king saw what had happened, he sinned again. So pretty much just as it said. As soon as he saw that all the hail stopped, he was like, man, put him back in chains. Get him out there working. So he didn't keep his word. And family, we're going to stop right there at chapter 9. We're going to pick up at chapter 10. Hey, it was a very good reading. Very good reading.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Now look, again, family, this is the recording. I'm going to send it out to everybody, Yah willing. I'm going to have to edit it and everything like that. But hey, please, I'm going to publish this on YouTube. And family, please, if y'all know anyone, who has a YouTube channel or who has a Facebook, who has anything, let them put out this videos. Put out this word, put out this truth, because it doesn't have to be like, we're just trying to spread this word. But again, I appreciate everybody for coming in. And hey, I'm going to leave y'all in peace with the ancient Hebrew word of peace. Shalom. And God bless all you brothers and sisters.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom, family.
God bless.
Love you all. God bless.
Hallelujah.